Okay, so you guys turned. They did the Cruiser Fighter 61, save the carrier. I like it. It does mean I also get my battleship, so hopefully I can make it worth it and create some sort of headache with the battleship. We shall have to just wait and see what we can do about that. Um, there's a couple interesting notes, but he did build a, carrier destroyer. Came up here, dropped the two, so I've got 6 fighters and a bomber versus his, what is that, 5, 2, 4, 6 planes and ships. So he did keep his transport back so he could gather up the infantry as well. So if he goes into a KJF, I just might take a 1 round or 2 round swing at that, because it'll be just nice to get rid of that navy. He's in a position he could go either way right now. Still, he's not really committed one way or the other. I haven't really decided if I'm going to do Pearl Light or not yet. I haven't really actually decided what I'm going to do yet. I do know one thing I'm going to do. So the interesting part about his setup here is he's got two infantry artillery here, and then his infantry back. He didn't leave anybody in TJ. He pulled his tank all the way back to Persia. That's the part that I find a little bit interesting, because if he only lands 1 fighter here in TJ, I've got decent odds with a tank, infantry, artillery, battleship, bomber to attack there. Now, if he brings 2 fighters, so he'd have to bring the US fighter and a Russian fighter, well, then that Russian fighter is not trading. Neither of these can make it with that, can't trade and make it down here. Um, so it's going to pull his Russian guys, a Russian fighter, out of the way at the very least, or he's going to give me a shot at taking this where I can blitz and come across and then take Egypt kind of lightly. The thing and the reason that I like doing this is to save the carrier here. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. The reason being, this helps dead zone Egypt because he can go 34 and come across, grab 2 guys and come across, or grab 1 and 2 and come across. As well as it helps protect India because you can always grab the guys and bring them back over here. You can grab 2 of these guys or this 1 and 1 and bring the tank back, and so you protect Egypt as well. I mean, excuse me, India as well. Um, Now, if you see me play enough, you know I like to be in C-Zone 36 on J2. Most people do, I think. And I'm still going to plan on being in C-Zone 36 and J2. But what if I have a battleship, carrier, and a fighter in C-Zone 34 at the end of this turn? So this fighter can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and land with this battleship carrier. That's the reason I like this, is it's going to force him to go ahead and push these guys out of the Indian Ocean. He could go ahead and attack with carrier, fighter, fighter, bomber, which would give him a 50-50 in essence. If I decide to keep one of these fighters and don't attack with it, because I can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, then that gives me an easy clear advantage. So I may choose to just keep one of these fighters back, and see what that leads me to. But I feel like there's like a little bit of opportunity here potentially, and if I move into C-Zone 34, that prevents any chance of him really confidently, at least, using the transport to help dead zone Egypt. So even if we don't take TJ, we can always use the transport, grab these guys, and stack Egypt on G2, and he'll have like a 35% chance to take with this 2-1-1 bomber fighter. And with the African forces of Germany, I'm okay with that. So I'm just kind of setting up the opportunity. It may end up being that I don't even want to keep the battleship here based on where he ends up placing his Americans, right? Presumably he's going to try to set things up so that he'll have the Mediterranean dead zoned by them. Right now, as the setup is 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, he's leaving me the opportunity to come back to 14, where the only thing he could hit me with is 2 UK fighters, unless he's planning on bringing the US destroyer down and risking, putting it down here. Then that'll give him the US destroyer and then fighter one of these two places in the US bomber. Point being, if he goes KJF, he's giving me the opportunity to come to 14. If he puts a fighter there, take out his fighter, and potentially take out his destroyer, and that would leave him a weak attack on the battleship on 14. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just kind of thinking things through. Thinking most likely he'll have the battleship dead zone one place or another. And so I'm going to, if nothing, my worst play is I just dump everything into Egypt and let the dice roll. Potentially, I'll be able to blitz, take TJ and Egypt, and then his US has to be in a range to take care of that because he'd only have UK fighter and bomber. And if his US fighter is in Caucasus and I take both those, it doesn't reach, right? Same thing if the US fighter here, 1, 2, 3, if I take both of them, it doesn't work. So it'll be interesting to see what he ends up doing. I got a feeling he must be planning on bringing the US fighter and a Russian fighter down here. Because then he holds this, and then his dead zones, the med dead zones work. It just means he'll be pulling one Russian fighter out of the way. All right, back to J1. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. So I am going to do my normal infantry tank, three transports regardless. Threats, I do need to know that if I don't do Pearl Harbor, 60 is under threat. If I don't do Pearl Harbor, if I don't do Pearl Harbor, 60 is under threat by 2 fighters. So I need at least a battleship destroyer or a loaded carrier or something up there. If I don't do Pearl Harbor, C-Zone 62 is still under threat by a UK fighter and bomber, because bomber goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can land here 6. This guy can go 1, 2, 3, land here 4, and he's got his 4 infantry and fighter that could take that back no matter what. Even if all 3 infantry live, that's a battle worth it if he can potentially get 3 free transports to kill. So if I land in 62 no matter what, whether I do Pearl or not, I need to protect it. If I don't do Pearl, I need to protect 60 from 2 fighters. If I do Pearl, then 60 is actually a free C zone to land my transports without protection. But I haven't really decided what I'm going to do yet. I do know I like going here. I know I like going here. I know I'm not going to go there. So this is the bare minimum starting out that we're going to do no matter what. He'll go here. We may save one fighter. Well, you know what? We may not send him there. We'll see. We haven't decided that yet. He may go all the way into here. Generally, I'm going to like him going here first. Let's look at what this would look like. We save him. He goes here. They go over there. You don't like even sacrificing that one long plane. If I decide to do it, I'll do it fold out that way. 1, 2, 3 lands. So that would give us 4 and 1 there. That's 4 and 1 there. 1, 1, 1. 2, 3, 4. Fighter. Fighter can come over here. We're still doing the light pearl. Transport will come in. So now that's something we got to be thinking about here. I will have carrier. We'll have one fighter going 1, 2, 3, 4 can land on the carrier. This fighter can go 1, 2, 3, land on the carrier. Or this fighter can go 1, 2, 3, 4. One of those fighters is going to have to land somewhere else. Probably come down here with this infantry coming up. So that'll give me a carrier with 2 fighters here. Is that good? What do we got? We got the bomber. Fighter we got to watch for there. We should be okay against that. And that lead me the battleship destroyer. Or yeah, loaded carrier versus fighter bomber just for covering 1 transport. I'd rather cover the 3 transports more safely, right? So we can do that as well. And although in theory that should get 2 hits on 1 turn, I like the extra hit because I just don't like them getting too many extra shots off there, if at all possible. I mean, this is a guaranteed 2 infantry loss, whether I send an infantry, whether I send a 5th infantry, or whether I send a 5 infantry fighter and bomber, you're going to lose 2 infantry at the very least. So that's just a given. I kind of like this. The risky part here, of course, is the pearl light, right? Oh, hold on. I need to go do something real quick. Okay. So I kind of like pearl light these days, or no pearl at all. I don't generally do the 5 pearl anymore because my only goal really is to kill the carrier, and if I can retreat and he still has destroyer sub, or if they have the fighter go the carrier before the fighter or whatever, then that's a victory for me, and I'm willing to retreat. I really just care about getting the carrier because that's what helps limit any KJF capabilities. So that carrier is going to come back. We got no, and plus you don't run the risk of the one, getting the clean sweep and then have to move your carrier in, because both both the fighter and bomber here still have their 2 movement points, so they can both land. And we're not committed to 34 in this scenario. We can always do something else. I always hate, I do hate not using a fighter, right? But I think I'd be more comfortable with 2 fighters over here. Again, just in case of a KJF mentality. And the other part of all of this is the fact that we're not going to get to West Russia, so I don't need to worry about having my fighters on land in range of West Russia, because obviously he's got that stacked. Getting my fighters here will help me get fighters into Japan, air into Europe, because then next turn we could fly 2 more over, and then we'll be having 4 fighters and hopefully a J bomber to help dead zone the med, which is how I like to play Axis. I like to try to dead zone the med and mess up fleet logistics up here, which again, with the numbered German air, we should be able to do something kind of reasonable there. So this is definitely a different axis turn J1 than I normally take. It's not my typical, but I kind of liked it, so didn't need the fighter after all. Oh, that's nice. Good. Nice. Ah, the dreaded. Ooh, ooh. No way. What? Oh, I need to clip this. If I knew how to clip it. Oh my goodness, I go the lightest I possibly can and on, or well, I guess I could go 3 and 1, and I get a clean sweep. I always lose at least 2 infantry there. What happened? Well, so far J1 is helping to negate that R1 where he lost nothing. And so this is, this J1 already is going to make Pearl, excuse me, a KJF rather tough for him. So I do still want to get this carrier because it'll help even more mess with his logistics, make him have to build more boats, even for for KGF or KJF. So hopefully, nice. Oh, he left the carrier last. Okay. Oh, shoot. Absolutely. Good gracious. Okay, so get it. Okay, so this turned out to be a really good turn for. What do I want to take out? I mean, I can take the sub out and leave the cruiser. Kind of like my J sub sometimes. No, we're gonna take this. We're gonna take the sub out. I kind of like having the J sub run around sometimes, but he does have the destroyer, and so cruiser's more likely to get a hit back. Plus, it blocks him from if he was to go KJF or doing a Solomon Islands attack right away. Which again, I'm not expecting that at this point, but so yeah, I'd be curious to see what y'all think about the season 34 bit. Again, just trying to find a way to get fighters into J era into Europe quickly with the fact that we're not going to make progress on West Russia anytime soon. And we can still come back to 36 for my normal J2 and set everything else back up. And we'll be wedging out. Ooh, sorry about that. Wedging these guys on out, which now with a successful Pearl, he's probably going to need to. So now I really do like this, and the kind of deciding on the Pearl was the fact that I've got 7 air for Germany, so we got a chance to really mess with his fleet logistics, taking out the carrier. That's one less thing that he can use to defend. So I think this should be good. Um, do want to make sure about that anymore. Let's switch to our normal. Let's keep our bombers. I forget what we got going on. Where's our bomber at? Our bomber's down there. That's right. Started it. Keep the AAs. Make sure I remember this now. And I believe my bombers after infantry, well, I still got bombers saved anyway, so we're going to go that way. And I just, learned the hard way. Make sure our AA and bombers are safe from bombardments, even, when we got a coastal territory stacked with Germany. All right. So a very successful J1 makes me feel a little bit better about his R1.